Hello and welcome to your dose of daily outrage from Union Solidarity International. Today is Monday the 23rd of September and we're coming to you live from Glasgow, Scotland. My name is Walton Pantland and with me is Andrew Brady, and today we are going to speak about the UN derecognizing its workers and unions, and also the Bangladeshi garment workers and their attempts to get a decent living minimum wage. Now, firstly, the United Nations has a number of different organizations which you'll be aware of, such as the ILO, the International Labour Organization, the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, and UNICEF. There's a whole number of organizations like this. Each one of these organizations has its own trade union, and it's a unique trade union because it doesn't have a single employer to negotiate with. If you work for a major company, you undertake collective bargaining with that company. In the UN system, it's a lot more complicated because those unions have to negotiate with a representative of the member countries, which makes things difficult and complicated. However, those unions have been around for a long time and they've been quite successful at negotiating and organizing, and they're organized into a federation of UN workers. Now, we were really shocked recently to learn that the UN has cancelled its collective bargaining and recognition agreements with CISUA, which is the federation, and has refused to recognize those unions. And it's absolutely appalling because UN workers are in some of the most dangerous and difficult conditions in the world, and it seems really important to us that they're recognized, and so we'd really urge you to read a little bit more about this on our website. That we did a screen share there so you can see the article, and also to go to the ITUC's action page and send a message to Ban Ki-moon telling him please to recognize UN unions.
Yeah, I think this is a very important campaign, Walton, and perhaps in the world of communications it hasn't taken on the significance that it should, particularly with ongoing issues such as Syria at the moment. You're referring to the most dangerous countries in the world that the UN is involved in, and it remains, despite its problems and despite its difficulties, which we all know about, and we may have our frustrations about the mechanisms of the UN, still commands a large amount of public trust in the world. I think we could all say that, in terms of trusted institutions that people look towards, the UN would be one of those organisations that feature very prominently in people's, list of organisations that people have trust within. I think it's also symptomatic, Walton, of a wider global agenda which we refer to on a daily basis via daily outrages, which is of course the rightward shifts in terms of the politics and economics of nation states. And this, what many people may perceive to be a very small example, is actually quite profound in terms of it being symptomatic of a shift by countries to de-recognise trade unions, to apply pressure on them, and to actually see them as a problem rather than being part of the solution to stable working environments and conditions. So completely support this campaign. Of course, we wouldn't do anything but do that, but really check out a little bit more of the background information on USI's website and sign that petition. It is very important that Ban Ki-moon gets a message from people all around the world to say, as the head of this organisation, we do not like the way that it is being run, and this example of workers being de-recognised is quite a sinister attack on a very, in terms of industrial relations, perhaps a vulnerable set of workers because they don't have that collective bargaining machinery in place in a company, HR people to negotiate directly with, and they've chosen an easy target, and we can't allow that to happen. So solidarity with the workers, and sign that petition and find all about this campaign on our website.
Now, Bangladeshi garment workers have been in the news a lot over the past year, firstly since the Tazreen factory fire and then the Rana Plaza disaster, which is one of the worst industrial disasters in the world, and it has quite rightly focused attention on the conditions that garment workers are forced to endure. Now, recently, garment workers in Bangladesh have been on strike and have been demonstrating because they want a raise in the minimum wage, and the current minimum wage, if you can believe it, is $38 a month. Not a day, a month, which is just a tiny bit more than $1 a day, and these are very often people working extremely long hours. It's not unusual to work for an 18-hour shift or something like that in really exhausting and dangerous conditions. And as we know, it's not unusual for factories to be locked and for workers to be locked into those factories, so that if there are fires, workers are trapped. And workers in Bangladesh and their unions are demanding a minimum wage of $100 a month, which is still absolutely nothing. And of course, factory owners are resisting this because they say they can't afford it. And yesterday, Sunday, police opened fire on workers in Bangladesh with rubber bullets in an attempt to get them back to work and to stop protesting. Now, there has been some really good progress made in Bangladesh, particularly that spearheaded by the Global Union Federation Industrial and also Uni Global Union, which is the Bangladesh Fire Safety Accord, which has now been signed by 70 retailers. And it's a step in the right direction because it creates a mechanism for independent verification of safety standards to be carried out in Bangladeshi factories, and also gives an opportunity for trade unions to go in there and talk about health and safety. It's also worth noting that there are two major retailers which haven't signed that safety accord. That's Walmart and Asda in the UK, and Gap, and they've actually attempted to undermine that safety accord by creating their own voluntary and secret agreement, which they claim will address the supply chains. Now, we think that it's absolutely fundamental that Bangladeshi workers are at the forefront of improving their own terms and conditions, and the best way to do this is to remove the restrictions to their organising and support Bangladeshi unions in their efforts to organise and bring proper health and safety standards into their factories.
Walton, I think this is one of the major issues facing our movement in the world. The garment industry in Bangladesh, as we know, is absolutely critical to the economy, and after China, Bangladesh is the second largest exporter of garments in the world, and this is a situation which is only going to increase in scale, and we are talking about hundreds of thousands of workers in the economy. And while it is absolutely a step forward in terms of the health and safety accord, we still have several outstanding issues in Bangladesh. We spoke about one of them, the Tajreen Fire Factory, where zero compensation has been given to the workers and the families of the victims in that terrible tragedy that happened. So while this is a step forward, we still have a number of outstanding issues, including Tajreen and the assassination of trade union activists, and these are campaigns that we continuously and will do until there is justice, feature them on our social media streams, because we are certainly not going to forget about a number of the terrible tragedies where justice has not been served. However, you refer to $38, Walton, a month is what the minimum wage is. Per month, that's around £24. It's absolutely scandalous. And what has to happen, because it seems that the politicians and the nexus of the Employers Association, who exert a lot of influence with the politicians, aren't going to do anything to give recompense or to seek a more safer and just working environment for the workers. So it's going to come from external pressure, and unfortunately we have a litany of bandits, Walton's referred to them, who are undermining even the voluntary accord and setting up their own secret arrangements that aren't worth squat. It's absolutely scandalous, and we need to be applying pressure on these bandits to sign up to not only the voluntary code, but to go that step further and have it on a legal footing, in order that hundreds of thousands of workers are given a decent wage and are working in decent conditions. And at present, that is far from the case, hence why tens of thousands have taken to the street to seek justice. And what sort of justice do they get? Rubber bullets. That's the sort of environment that our brothers and sisters are having to endure in Bangladesh, and it's nothing short of an international scandal.
So Bangladeshi workers need the right to organize freely and to win higher wages for themselves. There needs to be compensation for the victims of the Tazreen factory fire and the other industrial disasters which have happened in the Bangladeshi textile industry over the past 5 years. And the killers of Aminul Islam, the labor organizer who was assassinated, need to be brought to justice. Once again, thank you for listening to or watching your dose of daily outrage from Union Solidarity International.